Welcome to the Payday with Rayray podcast, hosted by yours truly, Rachel Bell. I'm here to make your life easier as an entrepreneur and teach you everything I've learned about building multiple seven-figure online businesses. And on this podcast, I'll be giving you my best advice, trainings, and mindset shifts so you can grow your business and, most importantly, make every day your payday. Oh yeah. It is yet another payday, baby. And in this episode, we're talking about launching. Launching and all the things that you need to do to properly prepare for your epic, successful, profitable launch and make sure that it doesn't flop. Like, wah, wah, wah. You don't want that sound effect to occur when you are launching. It's not fun. And this being said, I will just say that as well as all my podcast titles and basically how I record these podcasts, I do them based off requests. So if you guys have questions about what you want me to cover on these podcast episodes, you can always submit a question via Instagram. Just send me a message. I read all of them. I may not have time to respond to all of them very in a timely manner. Sorry, words, sometimes you got the words in your head and they don't go to your mouth properly, but we're just going to power through it. So anyway, if you want to submit a topic, I'm more than happy to help you guys out. Just send it through Instagram. And that's how I do these topics. And one question that I've been getting a lot since the day that I was born, came out of the womb, and the doctor asked me, Rachel, how do you have a successful launch? And I was like, dude, give me a minute. I need to live my life first, and then I'll get back to you. So this is me getting back to all of you on how to have a successful launch. And if you have a little skeptical voice in your brain saying, Rachel, what makes you the person that I should listen to about launching? Well, let me just address that real quick. I would not have listened to myself on launching about 3.5 years ago. Oh no, I would not listen to myself at all because I was failing miserably. And not that, if you're a failure, you can still give pretty good advice sometimes, but I had no real track record that was sizable or profitable or successful to show for it. And although I knew a lot about different launch aspects, and trust me, I was the girl who was constantly listening to marketing podcasts. I was downloading all the swipe files. I was downloading all the templates. I was attending other people's webinars. I was like, how are people making so much goddamn money in their launches? And what I was able to walk away with was a lot of amazing tactics, but nobody told me 3 specific things that I've learned to be the make or break factor between a successful launch and a launch that goes wah, 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 and it feels terrible. So when I did my first launch, I pretty much got absolutely nowhere. It was a lot of upfront work. And what I've learned in launches more than anything else is that sometimes it's the best idea when you are introducing a new product or a new service to your audience, or you've never launched something before, it's not a good idea to do all of the upfront work prior to launching. And that may sound so counterintuitive, but let me explain. My first launches went a little something like this. I would do a tremendous amount of visioning and branding and website creation and webinar creation, and I would plan everything out to the T. I would create all the assets beforehand. I would create the course beforehand. I would get everything ready behind the scenes before I even talked about it. And my theory behind doing that was like, I want everything to be perfect. I want everything to be ready to go so that when I launch, I can immediately deliver it. What happened in my first launches was that I would do all that upfront work. I would create this amazing product or this amazing service or this amazing course or whatever. And then I would launch it and I'd be like, it's available for purchase. Everyone get in here now. And nobody cared. Nobody bought it. Like literally not even one person. And I launched a lot of different things. I launched a podcast way back in the day. Thank God I didn't actually continue with it because the concept was not something that I would have continued with at all. And I launched so many different little courses, things of that nature. Sometimes I would make a quick, $50 here, $100 here, $600 here, but nothing that would actually help me to go full time in my entrepreneurial endeavors. And the reason why I now launch things very, very differently is because I learned that you have to have proof of concept first. You have to properly warm up your audience. You have to do a lot of different things to prepare your audience for the launch more than you have to prepare your actual product or service sometimes. So how I teach people inside of Online Coach Accelerator, my signature 90-day business mentorship program for online coaches, is I have them create content to warm up their audience before they actually start on making their program or making their course or whatever it is that they're delivering their education through. So instead of having them create everything up front, what I say is I'm like, sell it And then create it as you go, because then you can actually have real-time feedback of, is this something that people want? Okay, yes, then build it ASAP. Have the outline ready, have the plan ready. But when it comes to actually taking action on the assets and creating it all into fruition, I recommend doing that after you make your first sale. And this is what we call the MVO concept, minimum viable offer. So you make the offer and then you create it as you go. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to launch a 12-week course on this or a 12-week program on this. So what you would do in theory is sell your first place and then start creating it and say, okay, week 1 is going to come out 1 week from now. And then you create that week 1 material. You create the week 2 material right before it releases, the week 3 material right before it releases. And that's the best way for you to actually gauge how your client is doing with the material. And if you need to add something, delete something, perhaps you release week 1 and they're like, holy shit, this is going to take me like 3 weeks to implement. And you're like, oh, okay, well, now I know that. Or you create your week 1 and they're like, this isn't quite enough information. And then you know to pack in more information for week 2. So it's actually the best, most authentic way to create helpful content for your clients. And it doesn't seem like it at first because you're like, oh, I feel like I should have it perfected before I sell it. And the answer is absolutely not. You need to give yourself permission and space to be able to iterate and change and optimize your curriculum and your material over time. And that's something I desperately wish someone would have told me before I invested years into creating a bunch of different things that people didn't actually want. So long story short, I had a series of extremely unsuccessful launches. I would invest money, time, energy for months into something before I even talked about it or launched it. And I just got so let down and disappointed every time that nobody wanted to buy it. And I felt increasingly desperate. And so when I changed my strategies, actually when I started making progress, because I wasn't actually having this attachment energy or this desperation energy to anything I was offering. I was like, hey, who wants this? Who would be interested in this? And people would raise their hand. And then I'd say, great, let me run with this idea, create it, and then sell it. And that actually allowed me to have a kind of a list of people ready and waiting to receive my product. Because I talked about it first, I warmed my audience up, and then I was like, yo, who would be interested in this? I'm going to create it if there's enough demand. And then I would be able to actually get real-time feedback. Oh yeah, they want this. Okay, let me go ahead and create it. So my first remotely successful launch was a 30-day self-love course. It was like $50. And I made around $600 through launching to just my Facebook friends. I had a lot of people following me at that time that, not a lot of people, but like maybe 300 people or so that were from events that I had spoken at or from different camps that I've gone to, like youth camps and leadership camps, events, things of that nature. And I launched a 30-day self-love course. And I'm pretty sure people just bought it because they felt bad for me. They felt better. They were watching me do all this stuff and they were like, fuck it, I'll give Rachel $50. So I made $600 on that launch and I was so ecstatic. I actually remember writing down a note in my phone being like, I can do this. Like, holy shit, I just realized I can make money. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Do, 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 do. This is waiting music. Do, 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 do. Okay, I found the note and it's a lot more intense than I originally anticipated. It was basically me reflecting on the fact that I made money on my first webinar, or I did it through a webinar and sold basically through that medium. And I was just reflecting saying, I can't believe I just made this much money. Like I would have worked for this many hours in my job to make this amount of money. And I realize now how angry I've been and resentful I've been of my job because I feel like it's taken away so much time from me that I could be investing into my business. And then I go into realizing, wow, I can truly have this much money and make it in like literally 30 minutes, respectively. And I don't have to do this job. I really don't have to do it. I feel trapped and I feel like I've been giving up my power and I feel like they've been controlling me, but like, I don't have to do this. All I have to do is challenge myself, make my own rules, and live a completely different reality. And then I go into saying, I'm about to have a quarterly review phone call with my current boss on the phone. And for the first time, I'm not nervous. I invite the opportunity to be challenged. Go ahead, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what you think. And then I say, I'm going to go and create my own results, my life, my income, my quality of life. And yeah, that was basically my first reflection of like, holy shit, I think I actually could do this full time. And it was a very powerful moment for me. And for anyone who has had a moment like that, you can totally relate to what I was feeling in that note. And if you have not yet had your moment, don't worry, it's coming. You have to be consistent. You have to never give up. You have to believe that it's possible. And eventually it will occur for you and you'll be able to celebrate. But yeah, so that was my first remotely successful launch. I made around $600 total on that. And then it took me about a year, maybe a year and a half to have my next successful launch. And in that one, I sold an Instagram course and I made anywhere from, I can't give you the exact number. We had like a 27K month, but I think around half of that came from a course and the other half of it came from done for you services. So in that business, I was educating people around how to grow their Instagram accounts, how to increase engagement, how to gain more followers, etc. And I did a complete course on how to go viral because that's what I was helping a bunch of my clients to do. And so we got some income from people signing up for us to actually do it for them. And then some income from the course that we launched for a done, like DIY or done for you. So yeah, that was my first 27K month. I was like, holy shit. And I was like, first of all, yes. Second of all, how the fuck am I going to sustain this? But I couldn't waste time trying to fantasize about not having a job anymore. I knew that if I didn't quit my job after that moment, I would never quit my job. So that launch actually allowed me to quit my job. And at the time I was doing virtual assistant jobs for so many different entrepreneurs. And it was actually a great job, but I was feeling so trapped because I'm just not meant to work for anyone else. And I'm sure that if you're listening to this, you kind of relate to that. You're an independent thinker. You want to walk your own path. You want to live life by your own rules. And I respect that. So that was my second kind of big launch. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And then when I launched OCA, my first round of OCA, I made around 20 or 25K. And then it's steadily increased. We've pretty much doubled the size of the group every single time that we launch, except for a couple times. And now when I launch OCA, I'm able to bring in anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000 in just 30 days. So I've come a long way in my entrepreneurial journey. I've learned how to sell things. I've learned how to properly warm up my audience. I've learned all the things that I needed to know to now gain this result. And it's crazy. It's actually crazy to think back to the time where I made my first $600 and I was like, yeah, fuck you guys. I can actually do this. Hell yeah. And then now I am able to generate, what would have been 6 or 7 years of income for me in just 30 days. It's a really, really humbling and incredible feeling to actually reflect on that and to give myself kind of a virtual little high five and say, thank you for not giving up, Rachel. Thank you for staying consistent. Thank you for showing up every single day. Thank you for learning. Thank you for going through hard times. And I just want you to know that your moment is coming too. And I want to share everything that I know in this podcast episode about the best tools you need to actually understand and implement in order to have a launch like that, because I want this for you. And I hope you guys know that the only reason I share numbers about my business or I share celebration about the abundance that I'm currently living in is because I want to paint the picture of what is possible. Because at one point, I never, ever would have believed that it was possible for little old me to generate that amount of money, but also that amount of trust from the world and experience that reality. And I only share this because I want to share with you and invite you into the next phase of your reality too, because you deserve this. So it's safe to say now that I'm generating what I am during a launch completely organically, and it's been all organic up until this point. I'm now experimenting with a couple of ads. So this is the first time that I'm running paid traffic at all. But up until this point, it's been completely organic. So I'm very excited about that. So it's safe to say I know what I'm doing now, and I've had my fair share of disasters and flops. And now I'm here to basically share everything I know about launching, the Launch Bible, 3 steps. So launching, if you're not clear on what launching really means, it's basically when you open enrollment to a course, a product, or a service that you have. So the pros of this, there's a lot of pros and some cons. The pros of this is that you can build hype and there's a cutoff date. So you have urgency on your side. Like people actually have a reason to sign up now as opposed to later or putting it off. And I also really like the sprint and rest cycling. So basically in my business, I have 2 or 3 months of just like grounding and rest where I'm not promoting hardcore. And then I have 1 month where I launch and I open enrollment and I'm talking about OCA. I'm doing as much as I can to spread the word and to enter in new students to the program that I run. So this works for me really, really well. It works with my system. It works with how I really like to live my life. And some people will say, oh my God, launching is the worst. And if it's not working with your system, I totally understand that. But it's the best way to get really, really strong and powerful momentum in your business when you are trying to scale to 6 or multiple 6 figures. Launching can be your best friend, and I highly recommend doing it that way. The cons are, of course, that it can flop, and you have no way of guaranteeing how your launch is really going to go. Like nobody, and I think the main thing that people have a problem with when it comes to launching, why a lot of people will kind of shit on launching is because it doesn't have control or certainty like it does with paid traffic. Like if you have a big budget to spend on paid traffic, then you can look at the numbers, you can look at the data, you can control how many people it reaches, you can control a lot more things. But in the beginning, if you don't have a big budget to run on ads, you need to learn how to convert people organically. Like you absolutely need that because you're going to burn so much money just figuring out what works if you don't know how to make that happen for yourself organically. That's why Online Coach Accelerator, when we're helping coaches create their 6-figure online coaching business, we have them start off organically, generating sales through social media alone. And then eventually, once they're ready to scale up and they have their first 20, 30K, 40K month, and they're consistently retaining that, then, at that point, it's appropriate for them to start running paid advertising or some other lead generation tactic. So anyway, people don't like uncertainty. I'm kind of a freak. I love mystery. I love not knowing what's around the corner. So I love launches. I love kind of the excitement of not knowing whether or not it's going to work. I kind of like that. But that's just me. I understand not everyone works like that, but I do invite everyone who's listening to walk on the wild side a little bit. Like it's okay if you don't know what's going to happen. You just need to sometimes surrender to the mystery of life and do your best and get real-time feedback of what that looks like and what results you're able to yield in the current reality. So another big con of launching is that if you put paid advertising behind your launch before you have proof that it's going to work and you haven't justified it organically or sold it organically, you can spend so much on a launch and only generate like a quarter of what you expected to return to you, and it can leave you in the red zone. So you could lose money on your launch, or worse, you could launch and just make zero money for the third time in a row. So people can really dig themselves a hole with launching if they don't do it properly. So to avoid all of that and to give you the golden ticket to a successful launch, I'm going to outline the 3 steps and the 3 ways that I know how to make sure that your launch does not flop. So let's get into it. And before we do, I want to also just notify you and let you know that Online Coach Accelerator is finally open for enrollment. So if you're an online coach and you have been wondering, okay, I'm really smart, I know what I'm doing, I know how to help my clients, I'm built for this, and I know I want to go full time, I want to make 10K months, but I don't know what the proven blueprint is for how I'm going to get there. I don't know what I should be focusing on. I don't know what's a waste of time. I have no one in my corner telling me whether or not I have good ideas or whether I should avoid certain mistakes. And you're just feeling lost in the sauce. And if that's you and you're an online coach, you're trying to get to 10K months and you want to go full time, Online Coach Accelerator absolutely needs to be at the top of your list. Before you listen to any more of this podcast episode, I need you to go to www.onlinecoachaccelerator.com and read the page. If everything on the page sounds like you and you're like, holy shit, this is speaking directly to me, then hit the apply button and get on a free strategy call with me and my team. So basically what we do on that call is we just ask you a bunch of interview questions about your business. We want to go really, really deep and understand where you're at. Even if you don't have any clients right now, that's totally okay. Where you're at, where you want to be, and what you believe is holding you back from getting there. And then we'll unveil exactly what we do inside of Online Coach Accelerator to provide incredible results for our clients and how we've been able to help hundreds of online coaches just like you go full-time in their business. And then we'll look at what that looks like to enroll you if that sounds like something that you actually want to participate in. So just to be totally clear, this is not a pushy sales call. This is simply basically us educating you about what it is and then opening the gate. If you want to step through that gate, you want to make a decision and take life into your own hands, and you want these results, then we can open the gate for you. Enrollment ends the end of February. It ends March 1st, 2020. So if you have been holding off and you've been watching this kind of happen and you've been kind of like putting it in your maybe later list, please take action now. Literally every single student that I talked to about their experience inside of OCA, I said, is there anything we could have done better? What is your feedback? And all I hear from them is, I just wish that I would have done it sooner. I wish that I would have pulled the trigger and not waited for so long. And that is the only regret that I hear from my students. So if that's you and you know that you want this and you're ready, even if you're not ready, get on a call with my team and we'll help you get so clear on what you need to do in your business to move forward. And if that looks like joining OCA, we'll talk about all the details there, including what the investment is, what our payment plans are, and all the goodies and the details that you may be wondering right now. So again, go to www.onlinecoachaccelerator.com, apply for a free strategy call, and we'll see you on the call. Alrighty, so let's dive into the content, shall we? This is your launch guide. Get ready to take notes. If you're driving, pull over to the side of the road, ma'am or sir, and get your notepad out because you're going to want to remember this stuff. The first way to make sure that your launch doesn't flop and to ensure that it's profitable is to plant early. And when I say plant early, I mean plant the seed as early as possible. If you're launching in 30 days, your launch started yesterday. And I think that a lot of people think, when you're launching and it's time to launch and you have a 30-day launch period or a 2-week launch, then you start promoting and really talking about your launch during that 2-week period or during that 30-day period. And it's really, they think that launch time is the only season in which they're promoting, but that could not be further from the truth. You are promoting all of the time as an entrepreneur, and you're opening yourself. And here's the distinction. You're promoting all the time, but you're only opening yourself to clients during a specific window of time. You're opening the floodgates, basically. So in other words, I noticed that a lot of students or people that I mentor, they'll be like, I don't get it. Why did my launch flop? I'm like, well, how long have you been talking about your offer? How long have you been talking about your value and your niche and who you've been, how long have you been sharing really, really potent value about how you can help people and educating them on what you do? And they're like, 30 days. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. And that's a great start. And at the same time, if you just know someone for 30 days and you only know them online, and then they offer something for $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, are you going to immediately buy it? The answer will be no for most of you, but it will be yes for some of you. And here's the distinguishing factor between those two. The people who say no, I wouldn't buy that, are people who are either not aware that their problem is huge and absolutely needs to be solved right now, and they don't believe that you're the best person to solve it. And the people who say, yes, I would buy that right then and there within 30 days, those are the people who are extremely aware that their problem is big and that it needs to be solved and they need help solving it. So when you're launching, half of it is you preparing and half of it is the readiness level and the awareness level of your client. Some people are thinking, one day I would like to have a business of my own. One day I would like to go full time. One day I would like to do everything that I dream of doing. And then there's another category of people who are like, I will do whatever it takes. Tell me what to do and I will do it. I'm a hard worker. Put me in the game, coach. And the people in the latter category are people who will actually take action when you launch something without much prior preparation or warm up. But if you really want to maximize your launch, you want to ensure that it doesn't flop, what I recommend doing is making sure that you are talking to people with an extreme amount of patience and understanding that the people that you gain in your audience today may not buy in the next 30 days. They may not buy in the next 60 days. Hell, they may not buy in the next year, but they will buy eventually if you are consistent and you provide value and you show them what you can do for them. There are a lot of people who join OCA, and I always like to ask them, when did you first discover me? How long have you been waiting to join OCA? And they'll say a year or 6 months or 2 years. Or sometimes people are like, I've been watching you since 2015 and now I'm ready. So be patient, be extremely patient and understand that you're planting seeds. And if you really want to have a tree that bears fruit and is around for a long time, you need to have a lot of patience in watching that thing grow and realize that the roots are the first thing that grow. You're not going to all of a sudden have a tree shoot up out of the ground at the moment you plant a seed and water it and then expect it to bear fruit. First, it needs to grow down into the earth. It needs to ground and get all the nutrients and information it needs about its environment to truly thrive and then shoot upwards towards the sky, extend its branches, and then bear fruit so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. So envision your business like it's a big, strong tree, and you'll have a lot more patience to see it through. But your number one goal during a launch is to make sure that you are doing your pre-launch due diligence, which means talking about it as much as possible. And the best way to guarantee your launch will be successful is to properly warm up your cold leads. So people who have just joined your audience, people who have never heard you talk about what you're talking about, these are what we call like anywhere from cold to warm leads. People who maybe know you, but they don't really know what you do. They don't really know a whole lot about the problem that you solve. Maybe they're not too aware of the problem that you solve or something like that. Your job during that time in your off season is going to be to provide as much value and utility as possible without any need for return or engagement or attachment. You are just providing as much value as possible, being super generous, making sure that you're forming relationships that are really, really authentic and rich and beautiful with potential clients. And you want to establish your positioning. So what this means is if you can get on stages, even if they're just small local events, like put yourself out there, ask where you can speak, get pictures, post it, get on podcasts, do as much as you can to get booked and busy and look like you are popping and in demand, because people want to work with other people who are actually in demand, right? If you are just cooped up in your house all day, not doing anything, and you're like, hey guys, it's me again. How attractive is that compared to someone who's getting out there, who's getting booked, who's booking themselves, who's speaking at little yoga retreat centers or going to a class and putting on their own class in a workshop and getting pictures and posting it and exemplifying and demonstrating that they have something to say and that they can teach and educate others. So do everything you can to establish your positioning, provide as much value without expectation of return, and introduce yourself to more cold leads, which means that you need to go out and reach out directly to people who look like potential clients, either through Facebook groups or Instagram pages. And remember, you're not approaching them to be like, sign up for my program. You're not doing that. You're approaching them with one core desire and one desire only, and that is to form an authentic relationship with them and to help them human to human. That's all you want to do when you're planting early. Because one thing that will almost surely guarantee your desperation and failure, or at least feeling like a failure in your launch, is when you're approaching people during your launch that you've never talked to before with the intention to sell them something. That doesn't feel good for anyone. So what I recommend doing more than anything else during your launch is revisiting those relationships that you've already formed and tell them what you have to offer and ask them if they're interested in having a conversation about it. So imagine that you're at a party, right? And this kind of goes along with the introducing yourself and being really patient with people. So imagine that you're at a party and you are looking for a husband or a wife, whichever you prefer. And now, if you need that husband or wife within 30 days and you need to find them, you need to convert them, you need to put a ring on their finger and wife/hubby them up, what do you look like? I'll tell you what you look like. You look desperate, right? You're like on the hunt. You're like talking to every person with one core agenda in mind, and that is to lock them down. And they can feel that. People are not going to be attracted to that. But what if you had no time limit on when you needed to lock down that relationship, and you actually didn't even have that in your mind as a goal? And you were just like looking to connect with people authentically and looking to help them and support them and connect them and like just be there for them. You would take your time. You would be more attractive and magnetic because you're not attached and you don't have a hidden agenda. So if you want to make sure that your launches are crushing it and they're slapping, then don't be desperate and don't put yourself in situations where you need to be desperate. In other words, plant super early, make sure that you're starting your launch before you need to start your launch, and you are forming relationships, deep and rich and authentic relationships with people that would eventually buy your services. And just gauge interest from people. Ask them, hey, would you be interested? If I created a course like that, is that something you'd be interested in? If I did coaching on XYZ, is that something you'd be interested in? And get a temperature of the water. The second way to ensure that your launch does not flop and make sure that it's super successful is to get really, really crystal clear on your messaging. So messaging is basically how you communicate your program, how you communicate your topics, how you communicate your brand to the world. And I'll show you how to be clear on that in 3 ways in just a second. But messaging needs to be properly planned ahead of time. This is one of the things that you don't want to slack on. This is one of the things that you definitely want to take seriously. And it's basically, like I said, the core topics are the points that you'll be making very clear during your launch. So a real-time example of this is if I'm launching OCA, I'll be talking about sales skills, social media growth and monetization, making 10K per month and feeling ready. Basically all the things that my audience is currently facing, all the things that they currently really want to hear about. So that's what I'll talk about when I'm launching, is basically recycling through those core topics and making sure that I'm hitting on all the points that my audience really needs to hear in order to retain and gain more trust, that I know what they need to do in order to get results. So when you're messaging, all you need to do is keep in mind this one thing. How can I increase trust so that this person sees that I can help them achieve the results that they want in their life? And if something does not increase trust, don't post it. If something increases trust, post it. So your messaging needs to be clear in 3 ways. There need to be 3 specific things that you get clear on before you launch. The first thing is, who is it for? So who are you really selling this to? Who is the ideal client that you would love to work with in this launch? You need to get crystal clear on that. In addition to who it's for, you also need to be crystal clear on who it's not for. This, in some ways, is even more important than being clear on who it's for. You need to be very, very honest with your audience and with yourself on who you will not sell this to, because you do not want to work with a non-ideal client. It is a waste of time and energy for both you and the client. I don't believe in signing on people into your programs or your services that are truly not a good fit for what you do. And the truth is, only you can be the judge of that sometimes. Sometimes people might be like, please let me in. I want to do this. And you have to discern for yourself, is this someone that I actually feel excited to work with? Is this someone that I can actually help? And a good example of this is, let's say that you are an energy healer and you know that you work best with high-performing entrepreneurs who really just want to increase and optimize their energy, decrease stress, and live a more fulfilling life. Now, if someone comes to you and they say, hey, I really have a lot of back pain and I really think that energy work could help me with my back pain and that's what I'm looking to achieve, and I work a 9-to-5 job and I'm really stressed out and I don't really have time or money freedom, then you might say, okay, I guess I could help this person, but I'm not really I don't really do back pain. I just do energy stuff. And you kind of reason with yourself and you're like, I really need the money. Should I take them on as a client? And if you find yourself reasoning with yourself about, should I do this or not? My best encouragement to you is please be in integrity with what your scope of practice really is. And make sure that you are not overextending yourself to people please, and be super, super true and focused to what you help people accomplish, and be clear on who it's for and who it's not for. The second point in your messaging that needs to be very clear is, what is point A and what is point B? Basically, where is your ideal client starting from and why do they need to get to point B? What do you have as a transformation or as a reward for them when they get to point B? So an example of this inside of Online Coach Accelerator is, point A is this person who has a couple clients here and there, but doesn't have them consistently. They're a coach. They want to go full-time online and they're just feeling really stuck and blocked and like they're treading water and not really making real progress and never able to make a sizable income. They're kind of playing at the $200 to $300 per month mark in their business coaching, or their business and coaching services. And they really want to be making $10K per month. This is the point B. $10K per month, going full-time, living abundantly, living in freedom, able to move or go wherever they want, living the laptop lifestyle, having the life of their dreams. That is point A, where they're starting from, and point B, where they want to be. So in your messaging and in your launch, you need to be constantly bridging the gap between point A to point B with your offer. So you need to illustrate clearly, hey, this is what you're dealing with. This is what you're currently struggling with. That's cool because I have a solution to get you to point B. I need to be super clear on what those 2 points are and always remind your audience of where they're starting from, where they want to be, and how your program can be the bridge to that gap. The third thing that needs to be super crystal clear in your messaging is handling objections and demonstrating the difference between you and other people. So in other words, you need to address what's preventing someone from taking action and signing up. Like clearly you need to address, is it because people say that they don't have time? Is it because they feel like they're not ready? Is it because they feel like it's too much money? Like what do they feel like is the actual objection, and how can you handle that through your messaging? One key factor that I want to address is be smart about the way that you do this. So for example, if you find that you're getting a lot of money objections and people are like, it's too much money, I can't do it. That may be totally legitimate, but it also may be kind of a limiting belief for them. It may be an excuse. It may be something that they constantly repeat to themselves over and over and over again, not realizing that that could change through your coaching, or that may be the exact reason why they need to do your coaching. For OCA, for example, there are a lot of leads that come through and they're like, hey, I really want to do this, but unfortunately, I don't have the money in my bank account right now, or I don't want to take out a credit card for this, or I have the money, but I don't want to give it up. There's a variety of answers that they have on this. And money objection is really the only objection that we get. Everyone wants OCA, but sometimes they feel like they can't afford it. And I remember being in a position where I was reasoning with myself in the exact same way. I had an opportunity to hire my first mentor for $5K, and I was like, fuck, I do not have that money in my bank account. I would need to scrape up a bunch of credit card stuff, even apply for a new line of credit in order to make this happen. And even then I have no promise that I would make it back. And so I actually had a come to Jesus moment with that. And I was like, you know what, Rachel, if you want this to change and you really want to lay it all on the line and send a big signal to the universe that you are going to do this and that nothing can stop you from being successful, you need to sign up for this, because otherwise you're going to be saying to yourself for the rest of your life, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. That's why I don't have what I want. But I'd rather say, oh, well, than what if, right? So I went ahead and I did all those things. And so sometimes I'll share that story with people to get them to think differently, right? Like you may be even listening to this and you might be like, oh, wow, that sounds like me. Like I've been telling myself my whole life, I don't have the money, I don't have the money, and using that as an excuse to not say, that's why I need to do this. A lot of times the reason why we think we can't is the reason we must. So when you're addressing objections, be smart about it. Don't be disrespectful. Don't just negate someone's experience and say, you do have the money, because that may not actually feel true to someone, but you can always share case studies of how you've helped other clients in this position. You can share testimonials from other people. You can ask your clients, what made you sign up, and really get an empathetic feel for what it was like for a client of yours to sign up, even if they were scared or hesitant to sign up, and have them speak into it and just share that with your audience or share that with a potential client who's considering it. So for example, another way that I handle an objection for OCA is a lot of times there's only one or two reasons that someone wouldn't sign up. The first reason is that they don't trust us to get them results. And now this is not something that I see very often at all, because I'm constantly posting real case studies and real testimonials and real results from our program, and we get the best results in the industry, hands down. So that's not normally a problem that I come face to face with on these calls. But reason two is a lot more complicated and it's a lot more prevalent, and that's that they don't trust themselves to get results. They're worried that they're going to self-sabotage, or that they're going to procrastinate, or that they're going to run out of time, run out of energy. They're not going to be able to fulfill the program. They're not going to be able to follow through or take action. And so that's when I share, hey, you have nothing to worry about, because I know exactly how to prevent you from failing in that regard. We have accountability coaches that check in with you once a week and make sure that you're making progress on the material. They're also there to help you with your productivity and time management if you find that you're getting overwhelmed and a little overworked. We also have Q&A calls every single week to answer any question you need. And if your style is more like instantaneous answers, totally get it. We also have daily messaging support available to you Monday through Saturday. So that's where I share all of the things that make me different than other courses or other programs. We truly provide the most world-class support in all of this industry. I can say that with total confidence because it's just true. The third thing that your messaging needs to be really clear on is handling those objections and demonstrating that you're different from other people and other programs. So that's a couple notes on how to do that. Now, the third and final way to make sure that your launch is successful is to become a broken record. Which basically means you need to talk about what you're selling over and over and over and over and over again, like a broken record. Just keep repeating yourself in different ways all the time. Too many people think that they can make just one post or send out one email and be done with their promotion. No, you can't do it like that. Think about your own behavior for a second. When someone is posting on stories and they're like, swipe up to do XYZ, and even if you want that thing, you may not swipe up right then and there, right? It's like a 50-50 chance. You may be in line getting your coffee and kind of in a hurry, so you don't swipe up, or maybe you swipe up, but then you don't really check it out or follow through later. You could be just sitting at home, wrapped up in a blanket, watching Netflix, and you swipe up, and then at that point you might take action. It really depends on where someone's at in their day, where they're at in their energy, where they're at in everything, in order for them to take action or to completely ignore your post or whatever you're promoting. So think about your own behavior and have a broadened perspective about what would make someone take action. A lot of times it's not what you say, it's where they're at. So that's why you need to become a broken record and constantly talk about what you're promoting, what you're launching every single day. Because the average person needs to see an offer anywhere from 8 to 10 times before even considering taking action on it. I know that seems crazy, but it's true. Unless someone is an extremely hot lead and they've been begging to get into your program since the day you were born, like your doctor pulled you out of the womb and they were like, hey, you have anything I can buy? That doesn't happen to a lot of us. So we all need to be promoting ourselves a lot and really becoming a broken record. So you need to be annoying. Yes. You need to be repetitive. Yes. You need to be a broken record saying the same shit over and over and over again during your launch. I keep a folder on my phone for all my launch stuff, like screenshots of what my program includes, different quotes that I know will hit the message home for OCA stuff. I have videos that explain my offer. I have a bunch of stuff prepared that I can just post every single day and not think about it because I know that people need to see it every single day during a launch. And you want this to be so repetitive that, your Aunt Cheryl calls you up and says, "Oh, honey, how's your launch going? I heard that you're launching the blah, 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 blah blueprint." Because you want to just make sure that Aunt Cheryl knows what you're up to. You want it to be that prevalent in your social media presence. You want to just make sure that you are not shutting up about it. And everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this girl or this guy is talking about this thing all the time." Because guess what? A lot of people are worried about being too annoying or being too salesy. But the truth is, you have something to sell. You're an entrepreneur now, So you gotta sell some shit. It's not shameful to sell. I want to just address that. We shouldn't be ashamed of selling something. Because guess what? I'm sure that you have Instagrammed yourself wearing your favorite pair of Lululemon leggings and you're like, "Guys, I love these Align leggings. You have to get them. They're so soft and they're so flattering. Oh my gosh, swipe up to get your Lululemon leggings." And you'll shamelessly promote the shit out of your leggings, but you're not doing that for your own offer. What's up with that? Stop it. You guys, it's even better for you to promote your own stuff because you're actually the one taking care of those clients when they buy it. So I recommend not shutting up about your offer the entire time that you're launching. And even when you're off season, make sure that people know what it is you do. It's really hard to get paid for something if people don't know that you actually do it. So be very, very prevalent. Be prolific with the way that you share your content, you share your offering, you share the opportunity. Remind people how long they have to sign up, how much time is running out, all those different things, and become a broken record. A couple of bonus tips for during your launch. I would recommend reaching out to people who engage with you. So if you find that people are liking your posts, reach out to all of them and just ask them, "Yo, point blank, have you seen that I'm launching? Do you want to get into this good? You want some of this sweet, sweet goodness?" And just hit them up and ask, because the worst thing that can happen is that they say, "No, I'm not interested." And then you're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Thanks." But the best thing that can happen is they're like, "Fuck yeah, I just saw your post. I didn't take action on it yet, but I'm so into it." And then you can have a sales call with them. But this is your new identity. For however long you're launching, you got to just embody it completely. Okay, so those are the 3 ways to make sure that your launch is successful. Number 1, plant early. Make sure that you are preparing your launch before you even launch. Step number 2, get clear on your messaging. So deciding who it's for, who it's not for, what's point A, what's point B, what's the transformation, and handling objections and demonstrating the difference. And then number 3, become a broken record. Just don't shut the fuck up about it, Those are the 3 ways you can make sure that your launch is successful. I hope this was deeply, deeply, profoundly helpful for you. If it was, let me know. Hit me up. Let me know. Give me some good feedback on that. And if you have requests for another topic, of course, you guys can hit me up anytime. And one last call before I go. Make sure that if you are an online coach and you are looking to scale your business to 10K per month, you want to go full-time as an online 6-figure coach, you need to check out Online Coach Accelerator. So go to onlinecoachaccelerator.com, apply for a phone call, get on a call with me and my amazing, beautiful, loving team, and we will take such good care of you. We're so excited to connect with you. And I will see you next Friday on Payday with Rayray. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did find it super valuable, you just want to share it with the world, make sure you screenshot, post, and tag me on Instagram so I can stalk your profile and we can connect more. And to get notified on the next episode here on Payday, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes so you never miss a beat. Get out there, secure the bag, and I will see you next Payday.